3, 2, 1. Go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Wednesday session. It is RJ and myself here in the Cream Resources Group, and we're bringing on Mr. Braden Lambros from Empora Title. He's one of the founders and key players over there at Empora. We close a ton of deals over at Empora, and he's going to be kind of filling us in. Things are always changing, and we need to be able to adapt and change as investors, especially when it comes to the paperwork that we're using with our sellers to get our deals closed. If we don't know what we're doing, we're never going to get a deal closed. But Empora Title has been integral in getting our deals closed. And right now, just a quick state of the union. RJ and I, it's the 7th of the month, and it looks like we're going to continue our streak here. We're bringing in revenue-wise over 6 figures monthly when it comes to our wholesaling and novations business. That's one side of the business. As we talk about here on these Wednesday calls, all of us as real estate investors, there's two sides to the business. It's a tale of two businesses, right? You got your flipping business, which we're always flipping everything that we can that doesn't fit the other side of the business, which is the buy and hold business. So we're always kind of in between doing both sides of the business. That's what we need to do as real estate operators, right? The flipping will allow us to keep the cash coming in, which is essential. It's the lifeblood. It's the oxygen to any business. I don't care if you got a retail store, a laundromat, or a real estate business. You got to keep the revenue coming in. Quick hits of cash really provide the oxygen needed to keep the steam rolling here. And the buy and hold stuff is more of a long-term play. Now, we're all about the buy and hold because that's really where we've made the most amount of money in this business, is buying assets and hanging on to them long term. So we're very much into that. In fact, this morning RJ and I are working on a 17 door deal, 17 package portfolio that we're going to be buying here. And I'm sure we'll be bringing that information to another Wednesday call. That's for the buy and hold side of the business. And then, as I mentioned, we're still actively every single day. We're in the middle of some kind of wholesale deal or novation deal, and we're working directly with Empora Title every single day. So if you're interested and if you're serious about doing this for yourself, hit us up. We coach people. We're not a cheap date, right? We're teaching you how to create a multi-million-dollar business, a real business. We'll show you our P&Ls. We're not just some guys who are good at talking about it or good at creating TikTok videos, even though RJ is pretty good at doing that too. But we are actually real investors, really in the business. We share our numbers with you guys. We share the addresses of the deals that we're closing with you guys. This isn't, pulling rabbits out of hats here. And if you're serious about doing it for yourself, even if you're just kind of looking to do it part-time, you can very much make a full-time income doing this part-time. And RJ and I have a very clear-cut coaching program to get you started and get you rolling. So before we introduce Mr. Braden Lambros, RJ, how you feeling today, sir?
We're on a different live. We're going to explain where our number one buyer source is right now, and I'm surprised that it is. But this will be an opportunity for you guys to do exactly, what we're doing. We had our sales meeting the other day, and we've got a lot of momentum coming into the second month of the quarter here, and we've made some changes in what we're paying attention to. A lot of it has to do with our sales process. So potentially we'll talk about that next Wednesday. But a lot of when we have changes in the business and things that can change our paperwork and some new bylaws, it could be something that's happening from a state level all the way from a nationwide level. And the reason why we like working with Empora Title is that they're in multiple states and they have to stay in front of what's going on from a nationwide you know, outlook, not just locally here in Ohio. Everyone knows about them in Ohio, but they're also in other markets. So if you're doing this on a nationwide scale, other, you know, landlord-friendly states or other high-dollar markets, this is why we chose to go with them because they're staying in front of the trends and what's going on. This business is very dynamic. You got to be nimble. If you can't make a pivot within a week, sometimes it not pivoting can cost you, unfortunately, millions of dollars when you're doing it at a bigger scale like this. So I'm excited to talk about what's going on, what you're seeing in the market today, and some of the changes that you have, because there's changes all the time. There's what we've seen in this business is like people are lobbying to take wholesalers down. You know, it's like whatever we're trying, like if there's anything that I've learned in wholesaling now for 10 plus years, it's like if you don't if you don't stay in front of it, it can put you out of business, especially if this is your only main source of income. It's scary, right? You got out of your job to get into this, and now if this just goes away, what are you going to do? You have to go back to what you were doing, which is scary. So we're grateful to be in company with you, Braden, and I'd like you to kind of take it from here, but talk to us about what you're seeing, any changes in the market and then changes in like paperwork. And Dave and I will, you know, help you with the conversation of what we're doing as well. So thank you for spending some time here today. When you have questions, put them in the comments. We'll get to as many questions as possible, but this is going to be recorded. And a lot of y'all have been asking where the recordings are. They're all in the feed. So just go back to previous weeks. Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern is when we go live. So without further, you know, things here, let's go to you, Braden. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Appreciate the opportunity from you, RJ, and Dave to join the group today. There's really like three things I want to hit on at the very beginning here for just the first few minutes to level set with you all. And I think there's a lot of great dynamic conversations to be had about what it means to partner with your title companies and how that is kind of this, you know, people don't talk about that, right? You talk about how do we find deals, right? How do we underwrite deals, like very important assets in, you know, the 400-meter race. But when you're running the 400-meter race, it's getting your marketing going, finding these deals, finding the right ones, then it's finding buyers. But the last like 75 meters, right? You run 350 meters of the 400-meter race is really about the contract to close, right? In possession, which is like where the money happens, right? Is in the final sprint. And so you want to make sure that what you're doing is ultimately yielding the final results, right? You can find deals all day, but if you're not getting them done, it doesn't matter. And so what I wanted to give you all just a level set on, and I can share, if I can share my screen, did prepare a couple docs here for you. I just think it'll help drive the conversation. Can you see my screen?
I sure can.
Yep.
Okay, great. So as Dave and RJ said, I'm one of the owners and the chief commercial officer here at Empora Title. One of the things we've been doing is we want to make it easy to buy and sell real estate. So this is important so we can give you context around as we get into wholesales innovations. We've been building this for investors. And so last year we closed $250 million with a B worth of investor real estate closings. We've worked with over 400 different investors and closed deals for 400 plus last year. And we're closing in 6 states right now, and that's going to continue to expand. So we're seeing different market dynamics of what's happening in other states, what pressures are other states seeing. And so I'm going to give you a quick update on kind of a larger market scale update. We're going to get into how to work with a title partner. We're going to talk specifically about contracts, novations, how things are appearing on settlement statements. I think Dave and RJ, there's a lot you're going to be able to add there because it's really important to have what we see is the people that are very successful typically have great coaching. It's not just internet gurus. It's when rubber meets the road, when you show up, do you have the right contracts? Are you having the right conversations with the sellers? Those things are really, really important. And is that paperwork from seller getting into the title company in a way that we can digest it with the right information and make sure that you're set up to succeed, right? Because our job is to get the deal done, but we need your help in doing it. It is a partnership. And so From our standpoint, we're approaching it from how do you think about title completely differently as you think about every transaction and experience in your life, right? So we want to make it digital. People want things online. Ideally, a lot of sellers do like to close digitally, right? So they don't have to go to an office and be inconvenienced. That's really important as you think about scaling a larger wholesaling business, right? Is how are we actually going to close? And so when we talk to investors, communication is really important with your title partner, number one. I mentioned closing digitally is a really big avenue. Also using mobile notaries to send actually out to, their home, their place of business, the place that they're safe, right? A local Starbucks, whatever it is, making it convenient for the seller is something to put into your head is when you start talking about getting the deal done, put in their head about making closing great for them. Because that's a perspective that you want as you're selling this deal is that we want to make it easy for you and you need a great title partner to do that. And we know from every investor that we work with how important your ratings are, right? I mean, when you're going into a deal, you need to have great seller experiences because you want to have high ratings because that's what you can point to as you build your brand and your reputation in the market, because that's one of the levers of the many things you can pull to help get deals done. And so ultimately we look at like this is, hey, service is key. But what we're seeing in the market and what's changing, right? You've seen interest rates go up. You've seen a lot of the appreciation. There's a couple of like really key factors right now that position off-market deals and wholesaling innovation opportunities as like there's no better time. And we're seeing it with our investors, as Dave and RJ mentioned early on, and many of the other ones that we work with. They're not slowing down. And if anything, they're actually ramping up. So we have a big problem in the United States right now around affordability of homes, right? So demand for rentals has never been higher. That's number one. You have the average payment monthly that someone's making on a home that they would buy today versus what they rent. To own a home is almost $1,300 more on average per month. So that's a reason that like, as you think about the demand for rentals going up, that's a big driver in it is affordability. We all know about supply being low, right? People are in low interest rate environments. Back in 2020, 2021, they capitalized. You have 62% of homes with a mortgage have are under 4%, and you actually have like over 40% of homes in the United States, single family, that are actually owned without a mortgage. So some of those may be the sellers that you're talking to today, and oftentimes is. We're also seeing these off-market sellers they're feeling a heat from both inflationary costs and rising costs in general. In addition to that, we had in the United States savings of nearly $2 trillion almost 3 years ago. And that's down 90%. So in terms of actual savings in people's pockets, 2 trillion to 200, down 90%, which is just like an astronomical number, right? 2 trillion to 200 billion. So you just have and a lot of that comes from a certain socioeconomic market that you're serving, right? These underserved sellers that are in distressed position for many reasons out there. But one of them is just like these are indicators pointing towards like now is a great time. And we are seeing a massive increase in people getting creative, right? Obviously, the Wholesale 101 book is working, it's humming, it's live, and it's quite frankly never been better that we're seeing from experienced investors. But we're also seeing more and more opportunity to leverage things like innovations. It's sometimes subject tos. If you're in development or you're building something new or you're on the other side of it, we have seen people actually buying down rates for people that are actually taking conventional lenders. And so, making it attractive so they can get in and paying, basically using a lump sum of money to work with the lender to buy a rate from 7 to 6 or 7 to 5.5 or something like that makes it more affordable. So that's, in that getting creative bucket is something that we're actually seeing people do. But it really comes back to anybody that's new into this or is just getting started, they're doing a deal, 2 deals, a couple deals a month, is we see the importance, and you can definitely see the difference for investors that have great coaching, that are doing the right things, and the other ones that are showing up and really trying to figure out, and that can really hurt your deals and cost you a lot of money in doing so. So that upfront, the upfront dedication into learning the right skills, showing up with the right paperwork, which we'll get into, is really, really important. And it's not something that you should just lean on your title company for, right? The best investors, they have attorneys, they have coaches, they show up with the right contracts, right? They don't show up and say, now what do I need to get these deals done if I'm going down the novation route, as an example. So those are things you need to be prepared for, because it's going to be conversations you're having with your sellers. And so from a title standpoint, just to kind of zoom out, like what happens in title, because this will go into like the contracts and things we're going to talk about. Think of title as a five train stop train ride, right? Once you get your deal set up, like call it deal intake, right? You submit the contract title, you include as much information as you need, and a title search starts. That's going to figure out what's all the hairy stuff or not that's on it. Things like, is there an outstanding mortgage? It's very simple. There's some utility liens, relatively simple. But then you start to get into the tougher stuff like Medicaid liens or IRS liens, which typically have, big ticket items on it. You also get into, anything in that world that kind of has dirty title. Like we see people that are dead, right, that are on there. And so those are the things we're going to talk about, that the more information you can get in the transaction up front to title, the better off the success of that deal is going to go. And so you kind of have gate one is getting it searched and figuring out what the problems are. Gate two is where all the title work happens. This is clearing it, getting payoffs for the liens that are out there. Sometimes you might be negotiating if there's a large lien, with a Medicaid provider or IRS, you might be able to negotiate that down, working with an attorney and your title partner in tandem to get the deal done. But that's really like from a title partner, so most of the work happens between when a search comes back and getting to clear title. Once you get clear title, that's getting set up for closing, right? Our lender's approved, you have close of escrow, have you scheduled the closings, everything's been completed. That's really what most people are aware of, is kind of those first three steps after, and then also getting your money in step four, right? So you want to get it funded, get all the funds dispersed, get all the payoffs ordered, get all that stuff sent out. Obviously very important, because that's where you cash your checks, and get the recording so you have the actual transfer ownership of the deed. And then once the deed is recorded, a title policy is issued. So we're not going to talk too much about the intricacies here, but I think it's important stage setting for as you're approaching, like, why do you need to have the right contracts, and why do you need to have the right expectations, the right paperwork up front, and really how can you work with a title partner to be set up for success? And so that's what I'm going to take this to next, is like, there's really four, from closing, thousands and thousands of transactions with hundreds of investors over the last couple of years. There's like four things that stand out to be successful in this. Number one is clear contracts, which we're probably going to spend the most time on following this slide with Dave and RJ a little bit deeper. But make sure you know what the type of deal you're doing, and you let the title company know, like, is this a wholesale? Is this going to be a novation? Is there anything up front that we need to know? Like, we need a note and mortgage prepared, right, for whatever reasons. Like, these are things that you need to go in, and you want to front load the information with your title partner, including it being in the contracts. We see a lot of issues on wholesale agreements that don't have the simple language of and or assigns, and it blows deals up, right? Because the seller thinks that you're buying it and you're not. And sure enough, they pull out because they do not trust you. So that is very, very important. Dave, do you want to make a comment on that?
I do, actually. Well, RJ had mentioned some of the internal changes that we are doing and noticing and making improvements on, as I mentioned, internally, is our sales process. And when you coach with RJ and I, you are completely dialed into the same sales process that we use with our sellers. I'm talking about, like, we could give you the paperwork. In fact, you can have all of our paperwork. You can have the contracts, everything we talk about here today. Contact Rula, who's on this live stream. Rula will send you all of our paperwork. If you don't know how to explain it to a seller in such a way where they understand it, you're never going to get your contract signed, and you're never going to get deals done. That's what we mean by our sales process, how we're working with sellers. And, one of the biggest things that we're improving on always is that sales process, but being very upfront with a seller. Like, you got to be able to, full disclosure, position this from the very onset, be extremely upfront, transparent, That's going to be the key here. That's what gets a lot of new investors. They don't really know how to explain things in such a way to keep the seller comfortable, but also let them know that you're going to be lining up a different buyer and kind of how this process is going to work. You know, you can't just break out slides and stuff like that to a seller. They're going to get intimidated. And if a seller is intimidated, what's the answer going to be? The answer is going to be no, I'm not doing this. This sounds complicated. So, what we do and what we teach, what we do in our own business and then teach you is how to systematically get your deals closed with the seller, explain all the paperwork, make it a very smooth process, but most importantly, be upfront with them. This way, there's no nuclear explosions that happen at the closing table later that's going to get in the way of you and collecting revenue. So that is a big thing. That's what we do with our students is help them explain this and be very upfront with the seller.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. In full disclosure, Dave, RJ, and I did not talk about any of the materials I'm presenting. So he's hitting on number one, these contracts. It's just it's so apparent when when this stuff comes in. And once we have the first conversation with the seller, like, is this deal set up for success or not? So having right contracts critical. That bottom right quadrant I said is like, be honest, huge, right? Honesty and building trust with your sellers is key. That is going to keep the train on the tracks. It's going to keep it moving forward. You have actually radical alignment. And if you don't have that, you don't have a deal. And if you think you have a deal, you're going to get through it and it's going to blow up and you're going to think it cost you 10, 20, 30, 50, or I've seen, assignment deals in the six figures. And you're going to blame title, you're going to blame everyone else. Like, it's your fault because you were dishonest. And we know that because we have the conversations with the sellers, right? And so the best performing wholesaler businesses, it's very clear when you get on the phone with the seller that the way it's been set up, the way it's been communicated, what's happening, that they're working for the seller, right? We're going to get you the deal. This is the number you want. That's great. We're going to figure out how to get you that number, and all the other sales tactics that go into it. But it's really that honesty is what's going to help you build a sustainable long-term business, right? You can lie and be dishonest and get a deal done, right? I'm not saying you can't, but if you want to build something that is, going to be generational, it's going to, allow you to get the freedom that you're looking for and create a holistic, living, breathing company, you got to go back to the basics on being honest. RJ, I think you wanted to make a comment there.
The thing is the ones that aren't is typically because you think that you have to be dishonest. It's not. I mean, like, these sellers are motivated. You're there to help them. You're not taking advantage of them. You're showing them a solution. They called you because from your marketing, it's spurred them to give you a call or opt into your website. If you're dealing with somebody motivated, like this, somebody's, livelihood that you are taking care of, really. So take it seriously. The more honest that you can be, the better. They're not going to be like, well, I want to go with somebody that's, has a little bit more accolades. Sometimes the people just want to have these motivated sellers, right? They just want to have somebody that they can talk to that listens to them. It's that. And then just be honest. Look, here's a simple thing. It's like what we say. It's like, it's myself or my capital partners or money partners that will get this deal done. A lot of times it changes throughout the process at the very end. They want to take title to it. I'm still involved in some sort of capacity, but it's not going to be my LLC. And you don't need to like get all super in depth there. You just need to tell them, like, sometimes my LLC won't show up at the end. It'll be my capital partners LLC, just how we're doing the deal, but we're going to take care of you. That's the main thing that I want to tell you here is we're going to make sure that you can get this deal done. Simple as that.
Yeah. And the deals, I mean, we hear it, right? We hear it from the sellers because they're honest with us. And as soon as they lose trust with you, they're talking to the next person, right? So the honesty piece of, and you hear it, you'll get the phone calls, you blew my deal up, all this stuff. It's like, we're Switzerland, right? We facilitate, we get the paperwork, we get the information, we clear the stuff off, we get you money. It's like, we're a third party. And so we hear the honest outcomes of these conversations where the seller goes, I don't want to work with this person anymore because I don't trust them. That is the verbatim. And then they want to work with the next person because someone else they feel that trust, right? And so that's really important. So that's kind of, we covered the be honest one. We talked about clear contracts. One thing that's really helpful that doesn't slow deals down is if you work with your title partner and get the blank seller authorization form. You can put that right in the last page of the contract. You have to get this on most deals, the title company does, from the seller. So anything you have to do less with the seller and you can do up front goes in the last page. It's a one-page DocuSign. It authorizes us to basically pay off any of the liens, right, that require an authorization, and or find any of the other ones that we might need to do research on. And so put that in your contract. That's like, how do we think about creating less friction in the process? That's one thing. And the other market dynamic we're seeing is like some of these deals are taking longer. Lenders taking a little bit longer. So we've seen some people move from 30 days in a contract to 45 or 60 days. Just in terms of setting expectations, depending on what your buyer network looks like, if they're, you're going to have conventional lenders versus if you're going to have a cash buyer or somebody using private money. So just kind of understand that other dynamic, but that's one that we are seeing that's out there. Two other things that we have, like partner with the title company. I mean, we are a partner of yours, right? We want to be a partner of yours. And it's important to treat the people that are doing all this work with you with a lot of respect. Like they want to help you. Like our team and many of the other organizations out there, they really want to help you. But you need to help them, right? We are not mind readers. These people are not mind readers. And so if there's information that up front, you should share it, right? You should have an activation onboarding meeting and say, talk about your business. What type of deals are you doing? How do you like us to communicate with buyers and sellers? How do you want us to share information, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, we have great expectations to launch from up front. And so you should take the time to do that with whoever you're using, because this is somebody that you're going to work with, every week. As long as you're doing a lot of deals, it's going to be an extension of your business office. If you have a VA, right? If you have a title company, if you have your contractors, like these are people you talk to all the time. And the last part here is communicate as much as up front, right? I mean, if these are just some of the things we see a lot of, like, is there a dead person involved, right? Like, so you're talking to a seller, they have a brother, they both own the house, the brother's dead, right? Or it's the spouse died, or, there's all these different children because it's from a trust. And there's a couple dead people in there. Like those things we see it a lot. So if you know it and you're able to uncover it, share that up front, number one. Same with pre-foreclosures or foreclosures is another one, right? That if it's in this area, it puts a time sensitivity on it. So we need to know that up front. And the last one is like other known issues, like, hey, there's someone that's married, but they're estranged, right? They're actually split and they really hate their husband or wife. They don't want to talk to them. They want us to talk to them, but like, let us know that up front if that's like that happens to be the seller, right? Because we can help navigate the more that we know. So, provide all the relevant information. Don't withhold anything that you do know that could help us accelerate, and increase the chances of success in these deals. And quite frankly, make it a lot easier for your sellers and our teams to help you get that deal done and get your paychecks in. So that was it from a title standpoint on like best practices. I did have, if we want to talk about kind of contracts, David, RJ, I think that's a good one to go to. And I did rip out a portion of the settlement statement for novation fees to show how it shows up on a marketing statement around like as a marketing fee in the normal and traditional novation settlement statement. So if we want to go that direction, we can, but I can stop sharing from here.
I mean, I can sum up the paperwork aspect here, everybody. A lot of times what we're seeing is everyone wants to overcomplicate it, and that's what I think a good coach can do for someone is take it from that's what a coach does. It's like a good teacher, right? They take what is thought to be extremely complicated and then make it simple. And I think Steve Jobs was the guy who said, the genius is keeping things simple. So we keep it extremely simple. And this is exactly what's allowed our clients, our coaching clients, to get out there and start putting things in contract. We have a brand new client who literally got her first contract signed within 2 weeks of enrolling in our coaching program. And it's really simple. So the paperwork we use a purchase and sale agreement on every single deal. You're always going to need a purchase and sale agreement. We use the same, because today we're talking about, but really it could be for buy and hold for anything. Every single deal we do is one universal purchase and sale agreement. That's it. We've simplified it. We used to have numerous different purchase and sale agreements. We don't anymore. It doesn't matter what we're doing with this thing. If it's a novation, if it's a wholesale deal, if it's a buy and hold. That's it. That's the only 3 exit strategies. We're going to use the same purchase and sale agreement. And then if we're doing a novation, we just need one more document, and that's going to be called an attorney in fact. And I know it sounds scary. All it is, everybody, is a permission slip to market the seller's property. You need permission from them to market the property because you do not own the property. You cannot market a property you do not own. But with this permission slip, that will allow you to market the property to all of your channels, right? And when we're marketing a property, we're going to teach you, we teach our coaching clients to build your own big buyers list, but also with these novation deals to get them on the MLS. That's the best buyers list in the world, right? So as far as you as the operator, the 2 main documents are going to be a purchase and sale agreement on every single deal. And if it's a novation, you're going to get that attorney in fact signed. RJ, am I missing anything, or is that the simplest form here?
Yeah, it's allowing you, the attorney in fact allows you to handle the sale, of the property. Yeah, that's the technical term. You are saying, "Hey, I'll handle all the sale for you," and this is all in our sales process in our program. What we show you how to do. You then can put it on the MLS. In that contract, allows you to assign. So if you find a cash buyer during the marketing process, you can assign it. And also, if you decide to close on it, you can certainly close on it on your own as well. And in our contract, there's verbiage in there that allows you to extend, I think it's up to like 90 days to get the title, to work with the end buyer that you're going to be working with. So clearing title, if there are title issues, it even allows you to extend after that 90 days. There's verbiage in there too. So it's got to be pretty robust so that you can do what you need to do to help the seller. It's all up front too. We're not hiding anything. And we're doing a pretty creative deal that I think is going down. It's a wholesale subject to. We're wholesaling a subject to deal with y'all. And we're going to break down that deal here probably in the next couple weeks. But so, I just want to point out that you guys are amazing to work with. Whenever we have an issue with title, communication is great, and we can work as a team to figure it out. Whether it's you guys reaching out to the seller or us having to reach out to the seller's brother or sister and getting them all on the same page to accomplish the goal, which is get to the closing table. So just wanted to add that. So we got about 15-ish minutes, maybe 10 minutes here. Braden, did you want to go over that example screenshot of what it would look like on the title, the title statement of what an ovation kind of looks like? And then we can open it up to, some Q&A. And if you guys aren't using Empora title, we could go back to that screen, be the easiest way to get a hold of y'all to do some transactions with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share.
I'm gonna be totally upfront about this real quick. Thank you for that, RJ and Braden. But if you're not using Empora title, what's going to happen is you're going to bring your paper where you're going to learn how to do this. You're going to learn how to make 6 figures a month doing this business. You're going to bring your deals to a title company, and they're not even going to know what to do with your deal, let alone know how to talk to your seller. It just don't waste your time. Just you got something that works, rinse and repeat. We got Empora title. They're rocking and rolling with us. We stand behind them. We're not getting a dime from this relationship referral, right? We're saying to use them because we use them, and just don't keep it simple, right? That's, I think, the theme of today, right? People get intimidated, people get bogged down. Doesn't have to be that way. Let's just make it happen. So yeah, go ahead, Braden.
Yeah, just wanted to show, and you guys might want to add some more flavor here too because of the contracts. I think I couldn't agree more on the keep it simple, right? Like if you're getting in same purchase and sale agreement every time, amazing. Like best practice out there, number one. If you're doing novations and you haven't done a novation, you certainly want to have the attorney in fact prepped and ready to go ahead of time, and also the right talk track so the seller knows what they're signing, why they're signing it, so that doesn't cause any distrust in the transaction. But ultimately, Dave had mentioned the comment on you are in a novation agreement, you are with the attorney in fact getting the right to market the property. And so the way that the fee typically sits in the settlement statement for novation agreements is as a marketing fee, right? You might be used to something that's more along like this is an assignment fee. That's pretty straightforward. In the world of novations, it really just manifests on this final settlement statement as a marketing fee because that's what the attorney in fact and the right to market the property is substantiating. So it's a little bit of a variance, from a line item that's an assignment fee, but just so everyone's aware of as you're going through the novation process, that this is what you could expect to see when you get into the final stages of reviewing settlement statements and what to expect if you haven't done one. And I know that Dave and RJ both walk everyone through that as part of working with them because they've done a lot of these and we've closed a lot of them for them as well. But this is just a little bit of an insider glance, ahead of the game if you haven't seen this on a settlement statement, what to expect.
Can't beat that good old marketing fee, and that's what makes it easy to explain to the seller as well. Let them know you're going to see a marketing fee on there. That's to pay us for our services, right? And we're going to line up our buyer and just be very upfront. It's the best way to label it. It's not threatening, right? So I think it's great.
Yeah, it's positioning, right? I mean, you have an opportunity to say, hey, we're working for you. We want to get you the best rates, right? That's like part of the novation as you can go on, have the opportunity to go on market, work with other agents, et cetera. That's why a lot of people are doing it and why it's becoming more and more popular. It's been around for a while, but it's certainly like we're seeing that heat up as an avenue. But it ultimately comes back to say, hey, we want to work, we want to work with you. We want to get you the number you're looking for. We want to get you the best deal we can get you. And positioning it as a fee around that to say, in order to get the top, that top number, this is how it's working. So we've seen it work really well. We see a lot of success with that, and you just obviously want to have the right paperwork, right coaching, right conversation to make and keep it simple with your sellers. So I don't know if there were any questions out there, but this is Jason's local as well as myself in Columbus. We're in the 6 states. If anyone wants to scan the QR code or send a note out to me, you can find me, Braden, at emporatitle.com, or Jason here's in Columbus as well. Glad to, get you set up for an onboarding and have answer any questions that you may have.
So we're going to open it up. Feel free in the comments. We are monitoring the comments. To Sean, I see your question. We'll get to it in just a second here. Any question whatsoever on our sales process, how we explain things, if you want to kind of, an overview of the process. Once again, what are you not clear on? Let's make sure everything is squared away while we just have a few more minutes here. No question is off the table. Just throw it in the comments and we will answer your questions. But Sean has a question. It says, for you, Braden, it says, please remind me what states Empora can help with. That's what he wants to know.
Yeah. Okay. We're headquartered in Columbus. So you can think about us like Columbus is the base. in Ohio. So all of Ohio, to the west, Indiana, to the south, Kentucky, to the east, Pennsylvania. And then we have Missouri out there, and then down to Florida right now, or the 6 states.
And he said he is on your website. They're checking out the website as well. There you go. RJ just stuck it in the chat as well. Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Missouri, and Florida. Well, let me ask you this, Braden. Why those states? How did those states come up? It seems like a random list.
We're all landlord friendly.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Landlord friendly, number one. Number two is they're they don't require attorneys to close. So there are some requirements in states like Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, that you have to have attorneys do closings. So that complicates things. So that was number two. And quite frankly, the most outside of the landlord friendly is like, they're also like the most investor friendly, right? Kind of synonymous in that term. And so we just see from our existing customers, we work really closely with our partners. Like, they are partners of ours. So they've actually been the ones that have helped dictate like how we build the platform, the things that they want to see. That also means like, where are they taking their business next and where do they need us? And so, we've also worked closely with our customers to figure out what do they need us to be in next. And so that's driven, it's kind of a combo between investor friendly and then needs of customers that's dictated prioritization of a state expansion.
Well, we're trying out some new states, so that's good to hear. If you guys didn't catch that, that's when you start bringing transactions to Empora, it could be a catalyst for them to set up some systems and people around whatever state that is. So that's cool. I really like that. That's you guys being innovative, and that's the beginning of this presentation. It talks about partnering with your title company. So not that many title companies are going to do that. So that's really cool.
If I may just kind of add some flavor to that. Most title companies have no clue what they're doing. I'm just going to be let's just call it like it is. And a lot of them have just, what we've noticed, RJ and I have noticed, is just like, they're just a little bit lazy. They really are. Like, they don't even want to learn. They don't even want to evolve. And that's not going to serve them well. But we do have another question here from, and I don't want to ruin this name. It could be Leah, it could be Leia, or it could be Lee, because we got the LEA with a little accent mark. And I love the name. We will call you Ms. Glossy, because that's your last name. But Ms. Glossy wants an overview of the beginning. Would be great. She logged in at 11 after the live started. Let me just give you a quick overview here, because I want you all to be doing this. And like I had mentioned, one of our newest coaching clients within 2 weeks had her first contract. You can do it as well. Tate, we'll get to your question right after. Ms. Glossy, this is what we're doing. It all starts with lead generation. There's 3 parts to this business: lead generation, lead conversion, and then closing/exit strategy. Lead generation is where we're bringing in the motivated sellers. We get people, we're pumping out marketing out there. We teach you exactly what to do, what effective marketing is, get the phone ringing, get you on the phone with motivated sellers. Then you need to know what to say to these motivated sellers, and everything in the context that we've been talking about this whole time. Be very upfront with them. Let them know that you're an investor. Let them know you're a for-profit company. This is how the transaction is going to work. You are converting this lead into a contract. You're getting your paperwork signed. We have all the paperwork that you need. The paperwork you need on every single deal is a purchase and sale agreement. And that's just basically going to outline the price that you're talking about paying for the property. You're locking up this price, a closing date. It's going to give you an inspection period in there. This way, if you need to back out of the deal, you can still back out of the deal. There's very little to no risk involved when you're doing it the way that we're doing it. But that's the next step, is you're converting this lead, this motivated seller, into a signed contract, getting your contract signed. And if it is a novation deal, in addition to the contract, you'll need an attorney in fact document which is going to allow you to market this property for another buyer, right? And that's what we do is we teach you how to explain this to the seller. It's like, yes, I'm not the buyer, right? Without scaring them off. I'm going to find a buyer for more, but you're going to get everything that's promised to you. We're going to make money from the buyer, not from you. Let them know. And we explain it in that way. And then once you have that signed contract and you've converted the lead into a contract, you are sending that contract to Empora Title. Empora Title is then going to kind of make sure, do a title search on the seller's property, make sure the title's clear, that they're good to go. This way, when you line up your buyer, because that's what you're doing, is marketing this property now. And when you have a buyer, your buyer is bringing their money and coming to Empora Title. Empora Title already has the purchase contract. They already have all the seller's information. Your buyer's coming in, buying the property. The seller is getting what's promised to them, and you're getting a spread or a markup. For instance, if the seller was promised on that purchase and sale agreement that you signed with them, you know, they're going to get 120,000. You got a buyer for 140. Buyer comes in right to Empora Title with 140. Seller gets the 120 that they were promised. You get that $20,000 marketing fee right there on that settlement statement. That's a 10,000 foot view right there. Let me know where I need to expand on that a little bit more, but that's the overview that I think you were kind of looking for. Or RJ, anything to add on that?
No, the whole thing that we covered on that I want to make sure everyone saw. This is for someone that's a little newer, and well, it could also be ones that are actually doing the business. To be honest with your seller, it really doesn't hurt you to be completely honest with them, and it doesn't have to be so. I don't know, like you know, in the beginning, we work with students where they're like, I don't really get how you're saying this to the motivated seller. You know, we have a process where it doesn't have to be so gray. It's just, you know, you can tell them up front, I have capital partners, you know, that partner on deals with. So sometimes instead of my LLC, I'm going to close with their LLC. Sometimes the capital that they're using is with another LLC, you know, and so I've been working with a lot of capital partners. This is how I buy the houses that I have, that they partner with me on the money side of things, and they're going to use their LLC. I might be involved in the rehab, property management, the sale of the property itself. And that's it. That's really what you're doing anyways, right? You're a capital partner to your cash buyers in the way of, you know, bringing and presenting them the deal, and then you get paid a fee for it. Keep it simple, be honest, and it's going to go a long way. You don't have to be so, it doesn't, it's not shady. You're helping them. They're super motivated, and you're just helping them to get to their end goal, which is buy my house. It's a problem house. I don't want to do it because I got to put money into it. You're bringing value to them. Don't forget that.
Tate Klein would like to know, and I believe this is for you, Braden. And by the way, everybody, Tate is a successful coaching client of ours. He's doing a ton of deals. Reach out to him personally. You don't have to believe anything that we say. In fact, if you're even considering hiring a coach or hiring us specifically to coach you, since it is such a large investment to work with us, you should reach out for other successful people in the program, right? That's how it works. Tate would like to know, when would you like a newer investor to reach out for onboarding? After getting into contract, when they're about to start a new marketing campaign? So Tate, I think you're asking when you would like to kind of set up a time to kind of build that relationship and get started with Empora. So Braden, does somebody need to have a signed contract, or are you willing to kind of talk to people and kind of get them acclimated to your systems even before they have a deal?
Yeah, we've got, so both. I'd say the best practice is if you're a newer investor, you certainly want to have your first contract before getting an onboarding, because that's going to be like working with, the onboarding happens with an escrow officer, right? And so in absence of having a contract, that is going to be that you're not going to move the needle on that conversation much. But, you know, from myself, from Jason, like from others in our company, like we're always having conversations with newer investors, right? So if you want to know what people are doing, you want some insight, you've got some questions, like we're always willing to have some of the early conversations with you, you know, answer any questions that you may have out of the gate. And then once you have, you know, your first contract, you know, you can submit it in, we can set up a formal onboarding, you know, in the first, you know, the day before you get the contract or right after you have it, you know, a day after, make sure we understand all the intricacies of the deal and, you know, kind of get you set up for success, you know, in the first 24 to 48 hours.
Thank you very much. And Tate, reach out to Braden direct. And if you need Tate, you know, if you need Empora's contact information, Braden, what is the best way for anyone watching this to contact Empora Title?
Yeah, so you can request a demo through the website. You can contact myself at braden@emporatitle.com. I also put up Jason's information earlier in this feed, Jason Watkins at Gmail or at emporatitle.com. So I can just drop those in there, and any of those are going to be the best ways to get a hold of us. You also don't need to talk to us if you don't need to, and you can go online, emporatitle.com. You can create a login. You can store all your information, your operating agreements, your entity docs, your wire instructions. You will never ask for it again. Set your team up and submit the deal right through the website experience. So, you know, in the event you have a contract, you're ready to go, you can get all that stuff set up and all the information gets stored and we never have to ask you for it again.
Love it. RJ, we are putting a bow on this thing. Any burning desires or final thoughts?
That's it. Look, we are going to be going over that creative deal. Probably a couple lives down the way here, but we appreciate you being in our community. And as always, if there's anything that you're needing help with, we are pretty active in that community, along with Rula and Austin and Shay and everybody else. So don't be a stranger. If there's anything on this live that when you're watching this after the fact that you have questions on, put them in the right below in the comments, and we'll get to your questions. So Braden, thank you again. Good to see you.
Yeah, great seeing you. Thanks for hosting today.
Oh, go ahead, RJ. Just gonna say we got plenty more coming. RJ's talking about this creative deal we're doing. We have numerous deals going on. The vibe is alive. Get started, everybody. Don't wait. No more stopping. No more playing small. Our job as your coaches, RJ and I, is to destroy the limiting beliefs between your ears that have been holding you back. Give you all the tools and resources to get started immediately. Get properties in contract, but most importantly, create financial freedom. Start bringing in the money, everybody. Hey, there's no shame in our game. Call us boring, call us whatever you want, but all we do is make money, spend time with our families, and take care of our health. That's it, everybody. It's a real simple life over here. So if you'd like to get started, if you want more information, reach out to myself, reach out to RJ, reach out to Rula, who is part of this live stream and an integral part of our community. Thank you once again, Braden, and everybody. We will see you next Wednesday at 11 o'clock.
See you guys.
Take care.